everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 3 of season 2, aka episode 15 of DanDaDan. I miss that OP a little bit. I really do. So Jiji has been possessed by the evil eye, and that's a problem. Last episode was crazy. Last episode was so good. So good, but knowing that going into this episode that the movie that came out when this was premiering in theaters covered episodes 1 through 3, I'm like, there's gonna be some resolution to this episode to round out the first fourth of the season. Why are we already a fourth of the way through the season? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. No, we just started. We literally just started. So I don't know. My biggest question going into this episode is, do we end with Jiji overcoming the evil eye, breaking through, and getting back on the side of Momo and Okarun? Or does Jiji become the villain of the series and escape and vow to get vengeance on humanity? Or do we do something entirely different for a third option? I don't know. That's what this episode's going to be about, and I'm really excited to see what we get. But with that being said, we've got some comments that we need to take care of before we dive into this. So these comments are from Patreon for episode 1 of season 2, aka episode 13. Andy Lozano 5193 says that Science Saru is the same animation studio as the first season. They're a relatively new studio headed by the director who did Devilman Crybaby's remake for Netflix. That director isn't working on DanDaDan. I've watched Devilman Crybaby, and if it's the same team that did that series, then it's probably going to be really good. They also said the same director of season 1 is doing season 2, but he now also has a co-director for the season who is the person who directed the first OP visuals, which the first OP is amazing. The OG director really liked the guy's use of color and was like, with us together, we'll improve our color theory of season 1, which season 2 has already been really good. Like, it looks amazing. The fight, people in the Discord were talking about, I think Jav Gamer was talking about like the ball usage by Jiji as the evil eye. Yeah, incredible, amazing, all here for it. But then Swallow's Breath replied to that comment saying that Masaki Yuasa, the director of Devilman Crybaby, Ping Pong Inouo, is no longer the head of Science Saru. He's formed a new studio that's called Ame Pippin. Which, honestly, the fact that the director that worked on this series also worked on Ping Pong Inouo, Devilman Crybaby, I mean, there's a reason I like DanDaDan, and that is very directly tied to it. Tiny Truck, whose comment we're going to get into now, says that this is the same studio as season 1. Science Saru's been doing the whole thing. Science Saru has done shows like Devilman Crybaby as well, or that's only Saru's shows that you know of, I think. Well, there were some others mentioned above as well. But yeah, I think to me, the only thing that seemed out of place was that opening logo of the company with the green and white and black. Like, I don't remember that from season 1. So that's what kind of threw me off at the start of the season, being like, this seems different. I don't recognize this promotional studio logo. But anyway, Truck goes on to say, Jiji is very expressive with his body. He moves around constantly. But when he's confronted with the Keto family, he was very stiff in both his body language and his facial expressions. And the sweat on his face made him look very nervous. Contrasted with much of his body language and how it changed when he was behind their backs, waving his hands at Okarun in an attempt to communicate with him about how he knew about his favorite football team. So I interpreted this as being Jiji was nervous and careful around the Keto family rather than him just being naive and too trusting. But that's my personal thoughts about it. That definitely makes sense. I like that little observation. I hadn't noticed that quite as well. So I think that's a good observation that Jiji was acting differently around them. However, I do still think Jiji is overly trusting and a very big empath, which the evil eye took complete advantage of. So what can we do with that? But Truck also says, something I love DanDaDan for. They drew male nipples! Yay! So rare for an anime to do. Jiji doesn't just have nice abs, he has nice pecs as well. I will never understand the Kindolifying of men in anime and in some Western animation. I'm like, we can draw boobs, but you can't draw male nips? Oh, are we feeling vulnerable? we feeling vulnerable, male animators? Welcome to our world. Welcome to the world of every female. So yeah, I was like, good. Draw all the nips. Free the nip for both men and women if you're going to do it. And then Truck also said, Jennifer Lopez and Ace22, Frank Ace22 noted this in the Discord as well. And as soon as I saw the visual that Frank posted, I was like, but Truck said Jennifer Lopez was apparently in a movie named Anaconda, and that's where the connection comes from. Y'all, she wasn't just in a movie called Anaconda. It had Ice Cube in it and Jon Voight. What? As soon as Frank Ace22 shared the visual of the Anaconda like movie poster, I was like, oh, I remember it now. I remember that movie, and I was like, oh yeah. Yes, it was indeed quite a time in the late 90s. I was like, I remember seeing a commercial with Ice Cube in that movie, and I was like, okay, it was like Celine Dion was playing, and it's all coming back to me now. So yeah, I really appreciate everybody's comments. I am so excited to get more into this series, but I cannot believe that with this episode, we'll be a fourth of the way through the season. That's just wild to me. So, but anyway, I honestly feel, even though it seems obvious that we're going to have like a conclusive element in this episode, I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know how they're going to wrap up this little arc and transition in the next one, or it may not. It may not wrap up, and we may have just ended the movie in theaters on a cliffhanger, and it's like you got to go watch the rest of the series to see what happens next. So it may very well not be a nice little neat wrap it up with a bow moment in this episode, but we'll just have to wait and see. So we'll see how that goes. But in any case, I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. We are going to start DanDaDan, episode 15, aka episode 3 of season 2. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. I went back and checked in the Discord because I was like, did the movie only include the first 3 episodes, or was it 4? Because I was like, if it was 4, it would round out. I mean, granted, if you went to the theaters and saw a third of season 2 in one sitting, I mean, spoiled. That's greed they talk about in the Bible, but but no, it was really just the first 3 episodes, which again, a fourth of the season in one sitting. But I'm like, that's cruel. That's mean. That's cruel. You ended on this cliffhanger and then told your theater goers, now go check out the series. You just have to wait 3 more weeks to find out what happens next. Insane. That also kind of explains why these episodes are already dubbed in English. I noticed that. I was like, oh, they already have the dub up. Okay, cool. I mean, usually when a new season comes out, it takes a little bit before the dub comes, but they were like on the spot, Johnny on the spot for it. So this episode is why I like DanDaDan. For a lot of reasons, and some reasons that on the surface, if you are not a woman watching this series, then what I'm about to tell you in this episode, you may be like, wow, I never thought of it that way, or I never really noticed that, or maybe you did notice it. I hope you noticed it, because there are things that happen in this episode that don't normally happen, or did not normally happen in earlier shonen that I grew up watching. And so seeing it happen in DanDaDan is like such a fresh perspective, and I'm like, yes, freaking please. Okay. Am I a little bit mad that the Keto family's still alive? I'm gonna let it slide, because here's what I think is gonna happen. Jiji is like OP with the evil eye possessing his body. The evil eye is a little OP right now. So I'm hoping that the Keto family, especially Mama Keto, is gonna maybe be forced to work with Momo to possibly subdue Jiji or help beat the evil eye out of Jiji. I'm hoping maybe that's the case. That might be the case, maybe, or something. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is the Keto family were brought back because the mangaka realized, shit, Jiji's pretty OP, and Momo is not the type of fighter that's equipped to fight Jiji, so we gotta find some way to subdue him. Well, let's bring the Keto family back. They weren't fully digested yet, and we'll have them help, because now the worm's dead, so what can we do? So yeah, but anyway, I thought that the fight between Okarun and Jiji was really well done. I thought that it was set up from the beginning really well, where you had Okarun and Jiji playing soccer in the beginning, like when they first got there, and now we carry that back, and it's a call back to now we get to finish our soccer game and all of that. There were times in the animation, and I'm just gonna say it, there were times in the animation where they made Jiji so buff he looked like freaking Johnny Bravo. He had a Dorito body more than usual. There were just a few scant moments. Like, Okarun kind of has like that lithy but athletic like Luffy body from One Piece. Like, Okarun and Luffy would be besties, like in terms of the fitness club. But I feel like they gave, in some shots, like I'm paused at 21 seconds in, and Gigi's like chest is like so puffed out. Which, granted, maybe being possessed by a spirit makes you more buff. I wouldn't know. Have never been possessed by a spirit. Who was it was it M in the Discord? Was it them that coined this phrase that was like, it gets a shonen pass? It gets a shonen pass because it's a shonen. What are you going to do? But I will say, there have been shonen fails. And this one definitely gets a major shonen pass for me later on, which we'll get to that, and I'll talk about it at length when we go that way. But I love the idea. Green and purple are my favorite colors. I also like the color red. So the fact that Okarun is represented by the red, Momo has the bright mint green psychic powers, and then you have the purple with Jiji as the evil eye, and then not counting the rainbow bangle earrings. It's great. The coloring is great, and I loved that this episode did such a good job of switching out. Like, the moment Jiji showed up on the scene, purple tones, and then the moments between Okarun transforming back into his self, it was so seamless. The melding of him transforming back and forth, it was just so fluid. I loved it. So the evil eye is chiding Turbo Granny inside of Okarun for quote unquote siding with the humans. The interesting part is that what's interesting about it is that Turbo Granny is still her own entity. She's just, her soul is trapped in the lucky cat, whereas her spiritual powers have transferred to Okarun. So Okarun is a little bit different than Jiji. Gigi's body is literally being possessed wholeheartedly by the evil eye. So I'm wondering if it will become a thing like with Turbo Granny, if Turbo Granny's soul, is separated from her powers and her powers are in Okarun's body, if the evil eye will get separated from Jiji in a similar fashion and put into like a Daruma doll or something. I don't know. And then Jiji will end up being able to carry on the evil eye's powers in a similar vein that Okarun has Turbo Granny's. I could see that. That would make a lot of sense. That would tie into the series world building, and it would allow Jiji to be able to work together with our crew without wanting to kill all of humanity, which is important. So we'll see if that, we'll see if we get that next episode. We'll see. But Okarun's like, I don't care if I'm siding with the humans. And then we have our roll credits. You're not getting away with this. But Okarun's like, I'm running for now. It's basically like watching a football player versus a track star. Like, they're both extremely athletic, just in very different manners and different ways. I live, though, for Momo and Okarun working together. I live for it. I love it. It harkens me back to some shonen days, like when Orihime helped out Ichigo in some scenes, because Orihime's powers, she has like in Bleach, she has kind of like, not to spoil anything, but her powers at some point early on in the series have like a shield ability, and I'm not gonna say any more about Bleach, but it reminded me of that. It made me have the feel goods, the nostalgic shonen feel goods, right? So anyway, we get them running away, and he's kicking the soccer ball animation was great. I loved it. As a fan of Blue Lock, I was appreciative. Someone said, I'm not going to talk about what they said about Blue Lock, but someone was making some comparisons to Blue Lock season 2 in this series, and that's all I'll say. Go to the Discord or the comments, you'll find out. But yeah, episode 15. So they managed to get back, and they're trying to figure out how in the world are they going to get out of here. Things are not so good. Gigi's OP. What are we going to do? And meanwhile, the freaking worm, the nasty ass worm, is spreading poison. And if they stay down there, they're going to get affected by it. So what do we do? That is the question. So they're trying to figure out how to get out. And they're like, the death worms are known to weaken their enemy with poison by shocking it with electricity and spraying poisonous fluids. So Momo's like, how are we have to escape out of here. And then they're like, we could jettison one person up to the top and they could find a weakness because the earthworm's weakness is sunlight. That's the big one that it has. It has a symbiotic relationship with bacteria, so they can't withstand strong ultraviolet light from the sun. So Momo's like, we got to lure it out of here and into the sunlight, but we can't leave Jiji down there either. I want to give Okarun some big props because Okarun, you could tell, Okarun is such a sweetheart. He's such a nice guy. He's such a sweetheart. You could tell last season that he was jealous of Jiji because Jiji was Momo's first love. He was jealous of him and he was afraid that he was getting too close to Momo. And here, when Momo's like, we need to save Jiji, he's our friend, it does so much for Okarun because one, Okarun has transformed his jealousy into a genuine friendship with Jiji, which he expresses in this episode. And two, he's not worried about Jiji being competition for him because he wants to help Momo save her friend as well. And his friend too, which we'll talk about in a minute. So Okarun's got a lot of growth here. So Momo's trying to figure out, well, how do we get sunlight in and save Jiji? And I love Okarun with the glasses being, I might be able to do something if it's just you, Miss Ayase. I love he calls her Miss Ayase. It's so cute. And she's like, no, I want to do this together. There's no meaning if I just escape. And he's like, well, this is all we can do right now. I'll get you up there and you can use some rope or something to pull us back up or somehow. In hindsight, seeing how high up that was, they weren't going to have enough rope. But it was a cute thought at the time. Maybe she can get the Keto family to help use the snake's crusty ass body as a rope to get them down and out of there. I don't know. We'll talk about Okarun's situation here in a second. He's like, I'll do something about Mr. Jiji. Mr. Jiji. So I'm begging you, escape first so you can save us. And I love this moment where she grabs his hand. It's so romantic. And she just looks at him. I love it. It's so good on so many levels. It's so good because one, she is like making physical contact with him, grabbing his hand. It's a romantic gesture. It's a gesture of them being friends and possibly more. And she's doing it while staring him straight in the eyes. And I love this moment. And it's just so perfect with like the ash flying around him. She's like, I promise I'm going to save you. So please help Jiji. And he's like, okay, I will. And he's like, all right, Momo-chan. Oh, I love it. Are you ready? Before we get in the chair, I want to talk about this moment too for another reason. And there's a reason I'm going to talk about it with Momo when she gets back up to the top. But look, if you're a woman or if you've grown up watching shonen from the 90s and you were watching shows like Yu Yu Hakusho, like Dragon Ball Z, those shows growing up, was there ever a moment where the male main character looked to the female, the usually token female character? Although in Yu Yu Hakusho there was more than one female character. In Dragon Ball Z there was more than one female character. Don't quote me on that. But in a given scene, was it passing the Bechdel test? But did you ever see Goku look at Bulma and say, you're going to have to save us. And I'll stay down here and get Piccolo and them out and get Gohan out and you go save us, Bulma. Did that ever happen? Did Yusuke look at his girlfriend and go, you're going to save us? It's going to be... No, they didn't. Because usually in shonen growing up, and this was like time and time again, there were outliers, sure. But a lot of times the female characters were there to be rescued or they were healers. And because that's a maternal thing to do is be a healer. And so that's all they did was be a healer. Now, there are outliers. Sure. Don't Rukia, Bleach, there's outliers. I know that. But they were oftentimes healers or they were relegated to the sidelines and the male character was like, I'll rescue you and you just stay there and heal the others and just stand there and just look pretty and I'll get back to you in a minute after I go beat this guy up. But that happens so many times again. And as a woman watching that series as a kid, it paints a picture to you as a young female audience member that, oh, is that all I can do? Really? I've just got to sit here and rely on a guy to take care of the situation for me? I can't do these other things? Now, And that was just the vibe in so many shows that I watched. And it was kind of disheartening because you're like, they are clearly capable. So of doing more than they did. Again, outliers. I know there will be people in the comments that comment about the outliers. I know that they're there, but there's also so many examples of where this is true because I watched it growing up and was like so frustrated by it. So this series is so refreshing to me because one, Okarun is relying on Momo to essentially save the day. She's got to be the one to draw the earthworm out. She's got to be the one that will eventually stop it and save them from dying. And not only that, but he's putting faith that she can do it. And also he's saying, you have to save us. And I'll promise I'll help your friend out and do that. So it's putting a lot in her court. And it makes, what I love about this series is that her and Okarun both have a hand in saving the day. I know there's a lot of criticism with a lot of shows that try to like force the strong female character angle. And I know some of it is cringy. And I was like, ugh, where they're trying to be like, but I'll save the man and like all this. And I get the sentiment of what it's going to, what it's trying to do. And I'm not opposed to it, but I would much rather, you know, if you're a feminist, at least I'm like third wave feminist. If you're a feminist like I am, you're not sitting here wanting like bras burning and Momo to be like, I'm going to get jacked and save Okarun. And he's going to sit there and be like, oh, thank you, Momo. Like, I'm not asking for that. It's just you want equity. You want the characters to work together towards that common goal. And I praise a lot of modern anime for doing that finally and making it mainstream and kind of more of a norm. And DanDaDan is one of them where Momo, she is relied upon and in a genuine way, not just like a sympathy rely upon, right? And she does the same thing with Okarun. She depends on Okarun, Okarun depends on her, and they work together hand in hand, and it's really well done. And Okarun is secure enough in himself to rely upon her when it's necessary, like now. I could sing praises to it, right? I could sing praises to it. It's not misogynist. It's not like macho. It is literally adorable and amazing, and I love it. I also love that he springs her up to the top of the house on a recliner. His face when he was like trying to spring her up was so funny because he's like, clearly it's heavy, and he's like, here we go. I also like that, you know, Momo's not perfect. She like starts to fall back, but then it's like, wait a minute, I have psychic powers. I'm not going to fall back. So again, these are teenage kids that are just getting used to their powers and using them. And Momo is not perfect. Neither is Okarun, but they are trying their best, damn it. And I love it. And then as soon as Okarun's like, she made it, hooray! That's when Jiji shows up and he's like, rejoice, I'm going to kill you. God. And he's like, yeah, sure, Kay. You're not getting away with this. Again, this was great. So Momo's like, what do I do? And I honestly, her thought of making the rope was literally like, oh, that's a really smart idea. Until you realize how far up they are. And you're like, oh, wait, never mind. That's not going to work. But the gag when she spends all the time, it just goes, eh. That was so good. I loved that. And she's thinking, this is not going to work. What else can I do? And then she remembers her and Jiji, the suicide, the earthworm suicide, which honestly, at first I was like, what is she going to do to get the earthworm to come out of the ground? And I was like, what does starting a fire have to do with getting the earthworm out of the ground? And then when you realize the fire department is spraying all of that water onto the ground, you're like, oh, that's what we're going to do. Okay. And it makes more sense after that. And you're like, okay. Yep. So then it all makes sense. And you're like, oh no, never mind. This all checks out. But yeah, that's when she realizes, what am I going to do? And she's like, I can use this to burn the house down, which good. Burn this damn evil house to the ground. And then we didn't get the OP until like 7 minutes in, which is wild. We then get the fight between Okarun and Jiji, which, look, I will sit here and savor the fight between the two of them. Is there a lot to comment about as they're fighting? It's really well done. I like the aesthetic. Jiji being possessed by the evil eye makes him so much more serious, and that makes him scarier when he's more serious. Whereas we know Okarun's character, especially when Turbo Granny's possessing him. I also appreciate that Okarun and Jiji are both shown as very athletic, but with totally different body types. So there's that. Did I need to see at one point Jiji's balls in my face? No, I did not. And I did not want that. No, thank you. No, he's still a teenage boy. Stop. But I did like the creativity of the house of the curses of the souls that were made out of like the soul spirits. That was creepy. That was crazy. I'm going to take a picture of this shot of Jiji because it's really good and might be the thumbnail. I haven't decided yet. There's a lot of good shots. I'm trying not to make the thumbnails spoilery because people in the Discord were like, we don't like spoilery thumbnails. And I was like, fair enough. But I did like the concept of the creepy house. He's like, well, you irritate me, but that's what I want. I want to play games seriously. Also, Okarun earned so much respect for me this episode because he's like, you're just treating Jiji's body as a vessel and you're violating my friend, which I'm like, yes, exactly. Yes. I feel like we don't talk about this enough, but Jiji's body essentially is being violated by this spirit, like ripping the clothes off. I think of Jujutsu Kaisen, if you know, you know. But I'm like, we don't really talk about it when it's a male spirit, you know, inhabiting a male's body and they're violating them. And it's like, that's not cool. But if it was like a female spirit violating a female body and making her rip off her clothes, well, then I would probably complain about it and be like, oh, that's stupid. So yeah, I appreciate Okarun actually speaking up for Jiji and being like, hey, no, that's not cool. My friend would not be cool with you doing that. So how about we don't? Like, I love that. So when he was like forming the evil eye, like when it started glowing, I thought he was going to do something to like kill the worm once and for all, but it seems like the worm was even too much for Jiji to do like in one go. The creepy ghost house was a really cool effect. The fact that Jiji could just walk in as the evil eye into it. Also the fact that all the souls are like connected in the house, creepy. And when he said I'm home, although when he started fighting Okarun and punching him in close quarters, I was getting a little bit worried about what he was doing. And he said, this is exhilarating. And after you will be that girl and I'll torment that supple skin and torture and torture. And you ought not have said that. You ought not have said that in front of Okarun. Because at that point, I feel like that was Kin's like moment of going, oh, no, you're not Jiji. So I'm going to kick the shit out of you now because I don't feel bad doing it because I know that this definitely is not Jiji in this moment. So I don't feel bad. There are things that you shouldn't have done. I love that shot of him towering over the evil eye. He's like, 1, you harmed Momo. And then he's like, 2, you violated my friend. He would never harm Momo. And I love that because Okarun is like, Jiji would not hurt Momo because he loves her just as much as I love her. So nope, that was red. That was strike number 2. Also will note, this spirit, the evil eye, has made Jiji's body so much bigger, or at least it looks bigger on screen because I don't think he was that much bigger than Okarun in the episodes, but that is neither here nor there. And then he's like, 3, you pissed me off. Then Okarun did the move that I do anytime I play a fighting game like Mortal Kombat. And that's that you just spam the B button. You just get him in a corner and you spam the B button. My family went and stayed at a cabin one year. That my extended family stayed in like a cabin for Thanksgiving one year. And it had a little arcade machine. It had like a little Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, like little old style arcade machine. And my brother and I were playing. And my brother knows all the combo moves. He's like Jiji, aka the evil eye in this episode. He knows all the combo moves, all the super special techniques they can use. I do not remember such things, nor do I have the brain capacity to recall such moves. So instead, all I would do is get my brother backed into a corner and just spam the B button. And just keep punching him. And my brother would get so pissed. He's like, no. He's like, you were supposed to use a technique and all this. I was like, nope, B button, spam. Ha 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 ha. And that's all I would do. And so I appreciate Okarun's technique. I'm here for it. Love it. So damn good. Did not need to see those balls in my, that scrotum did not need to be in my face. And he's like, you really pissed me off. Okarun was so cool there. I loved it. And then he just collapses. They both caused each other to collapse. What can we do? I thought whenever he heard Turbo Granny that that was going to be like Jiji was going to escape in that moment, right? But I also love that Okarun tries to drag Jiji up there. And then we've realized that Turbo Granny was left at the bottom in the earthward slime. I honestly was like, I thought she was in Momo's backpack or was knocked out or something. So I'm glad we got confirmation. I also love when she looks at Okarun and he's like, I'm gonna get her, and she's like, please help me. Like her little Puss in Boots face was so cute. It was absolutely heartwarming, adorable. I want an entire little figurine of her with that. It is so cute. I loved it. Aw. And then of course she gets onto him, tells him not to trip, and then what does he do? He can't pull her out, and it causes him to fall into the slop. Which, you know what? I feel bad because Okarun was trying to do something nice. He was trying to help Turbo Granny, and it caused him to fail. And it's like, you know what? I'll give you a pass, Okarun, because you failed doing something good. And Momo would appreciate you for that, so... But what is going to happen? Like, how is him and Turbo Granny going to get out? And what about Jiji? And is Momo going to have to fight? Here's the thing. I wonder if Ken and Turbo Granny are going to be stuck at the bottom of the pit. And Jiji, aka the Evil Eye, is going to get out. And Momo is going to have to fight him like round 2. But I wonder if the Keto family is going to help her fight him, and that's why they were brought back, so she's not facing him one-on-one again. Because Momo is strong, but her fighting style is not compatible with Evil Eye at all. And plus, I wonder if, since Momo has a history with Jiji, if the Keto family gets him subdued or whatever, if Momo, like, tries to like use her psychic powers to pull Jiji's soul or mind back to the forefront so he can take control over the Evil Eye. That would be cool. That would be cool to see. I'd be all for that. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that would be really awesome. And then Momo started the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. You know, I love it. These people in this village, girl, this looks like a deliverance cult. I would get out of there, girl. I'm glad this earthworm woke up so that they could get the heck out. When he was telling her to get in the cop car, I was like, no, what if he tries to like take her away or something? And it's a trap. No. And so they're like, quiet down. She's like, let go, Mr. Firefighter. And thank God it was enough to work against the earthworm. Thank God. And then we have the moment of Jiji saying it's earthworm suicide. Which honestly, the moment they said that, I was like, yeah, anytime it rains, you see earthworms crawling out of the ground to get out of the ground, and they get on the sidewalks and stuff, and then they get stuck on the sidewalk and they dry up. I love it. I love the idea for this Mongolian Death Worm of taking real life science and real life things happening and applying it to these cryptids. I think that's so freaking cool. I love that about DanDaDan. I like it. It's bonkers in the best way. It subverts expectations from shonen tropes, and it applies real life cool science in a cutesy and fun and like humorous. I like DanDaDan does not take itself too seriously in some respects, but it still has a message to share, and I like that. So yeah, the earthworm like dies, supposedly, we think, possibly. It could still kind of be alive. I kind of thought, it's funny because the earthworm I thought was a lot more supernatural, and it really is just kind of like this Lovecraftian monster, and that's it. I thought maybe like inside of its mouth was like some psychic abilities or something. No, not really. But yeah, that was kind of cool. Also the way that she's like bracing herself. So I'm like, yes, girl. Awesome. I would dress up as Momo and be doing this. I also love when she like kicks it to see if it's alive. I would do what Momo did, which is amazing. Yes, please. But yeah. And then what does it do? Well, it spits up the Keto family, surprising no one. I love that she's like, oh, you're alive. Good for you. I like she doesn't hold any grudge. The fact that she doesn't hold any grudges towards this family that tried to violate her, girl, bet you're a stronger woman than I am. That's for sure. But yeah, they're like, she's like, I don't have time to deal with you all. And then now you've done it. It's all your fault. So the volcano has erupted, which is problematic. What does that have to do with the worm? Why is there thunder and lightning by it? That seems rather bad. I do not know. I do not know. And now I have to wait a week to find out. So I'm basically waiting like you all were after the movies. I can't believe they ended it there. I would have been like, my jaw would have been on the floor if you just ended it with the volcano erupting and it's like, go home and wait a couple months to find out what happens. Manga bait. They're like, oh, you can't wait till the season comes out, read the manga. Temptations. This was a great episode though. I honestly, I don't know about Okarun and Turbo Granny, how they're going to get them out there, or if they're going to be stuck there and Momo's going to have to fight on her own. I don't know how that's going to work, or if Okarun is going to be able to tap into the luck that Turbo Granny was talking about. Maybe he'll do that. I don't know. Maybe Momo and the Keto family are going to fight Jiji, because you know that Evil Eye is going to wake up. And if he doesn't, he might leave Turbo Granny and Okarun down at the bottom because he's like, oh, screw you guys, are going to be stuck down there and die. And then he goes up there to fight Momo. He might do that. And then if he sees the Keto family, because the Evil Eye has a giant grudge against the Keto family, maybe he'll try to fight them. And then the Keto family will have to work with Momo together to try to get Jiji and the Evil Eye separated. And then we'll see in the backdrop of this volcano going off where that goes with that. I don't know. But Okarun won my heart. He's grown so much. For him to overcome jealousy and to overcome that to try to help Jiji out, and also like be like, you take Momo's name out your mouth and do that, and then just being wonderful, and then Momo actually doing something to help save the day. I love it. I'm props off to you, DanDaDan. That's how you do it. So we'll see if that holds true next week. But y'all, I cannot wait to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have an amazing week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon. We'll be a third of the way through this season. That's not fair, but I'll be back to talk about it next week when we do episode 4 of season 2 of DanDaDan, and I'll see you then.